You're using the same argument for babies that slavers used against black people. A couple hundred years ago, it was general consensus that black people are not people. They're not full people. Were they right or wrong?
What do we define a person as?
That baby was a baby from the moment of conception.
No, it wasn't. When certain patients are like terminal, we euthanize them.
Who decides when humans get human rights?
Because they're incapable of being people. This is
circular. Who says they're incapable of being people? I'm saying it is a person. You're saying it's not. Who's to decide who's right?
What do you mean? Who says?
Who says that personhood requires brain capacity? Who made that decision? You don't have a standard. You don't have a standard. So we're gonna have to.
Nobody has a standard.
I have a standard.
God is not a good standard. This is gonna sound wrong, but life is not inherently sacred.
Okay. First of all, what's your name?
My name is Ahmad.
Ahmad?
Ahmad.
My name's Joshua. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, Joshua. I wanted to say that I think your assessment that abortion is a big contributing factor in a declining birth rate just because of the fact that people have like hedonistic sex and then want to abort their child whenever they see the consequences of it. Mm-hmm. I think that's a terrible assessment as to why people actually get abortions. Abortions, okay. And this is fact. This is a reform of healthcare, right? Abortions.
I would disagree, but I'll let you flesh that out for me.
Abortions come for various reasons. Most of them are situational, and most of them are situational, financial, economic, and most importantly, for the health of the woman.
Okay, wait. You made a bunch of claims. Can we kind of dissect those before we keep going?
Sure.
Okay. So can you say the first thing that you said so that we can address that? You said it's healthcare.
Healthcare. Yeah.
Healthcare involves helping somebody.
Yes.
In every single abortion, someone is being killed. Okay, so that's not healthcare. Right? Healthcare actually brings health.
You're interjecting personhood into what cannot be adequately described as a person.
Okay, how so? Why not?
What we describe as personhood largely falls under people that are sentient, that fall under sort of certain levels of autonomy, right? There's a reason why in the healthcare world, and there's a reason why I'm going to bring this up so much, is because mainly I'm going into healthcare myself, so that's I'm bringing sort of a bioessentialist perspective to it. But anyway.
This is interesting. You said bioessentialist. So you're going into healthcare. You're studying biology.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is very, very important. When does human life begin? Because that's what this whole debate is about.
Well, life is not the question. Life is everywhere. Life neither.
No, I said human life. When does human life begin?
Human life neither begins nor ends. Life started billions of years ago. It's a continuous thing.
So, no, when do you get your own DNA, your own deoxyribonucleic acid? When do you get your own DNA? When do you become a human life? When does a human life begin?
And an embryo are not a baby.
Yeah, it's not a baby.
For the first 15 weeks, abortion should be allowed. But after 15 weeks,
I would say about 20.
Okay, she says 15, you say 20. Do you not see this as a problem? Hold on, wait. Let me flesh that out. Do you not see it as a problem that we have two people who are ostensibly pro-choice, but you guys can't agree on when someone deserves to get human rights? Shouldn't we have an objective standard by which
I certainly agree it shouldn't be abolished. I think that's sort of the baseline that we need to have, right?
I don't think that's the baseline. I think the baseline should be that we don't murder anybody. No humans get murdered. That's my baseline.
If we draw the line, let's say, be more conservative about it, 15 weeks, nobody's being murdered. Because what we define personhood as is largely something that is based on autonomy. Right?
Who says?
Who says?
Mm-hmm.
It's a general rule of thumb that we define because a life is not, this is going to sound wrong, but life is not inherently sacred.
Okay, so you're saying life is not inherently sacred, so really it's just we as a society come together and decide when someone gets human rights. Is that what you're saying?
We protect human life because...
But not below 15 weeks.
But not below 15. First of all, it's in terms of personhood, right? So what do we define a person as in terms of like, usually it's based on, can they make like, not, I should say life decisions for themselves, not life decisions, but can they, survive outside the womb?
I have a 1-year-old who cannot survive outside the womb without help. Can I kill my 1-year-old if he becomes too annoying?
It's more of can they fulfill the cycles, like the immediate like vital parts of life, as in like, can
They need help to live.
Can they respirate without help? Can they?
So for you, it's
perform?
respiration is what brings human value.
Can they take in and like process nutrients without like the help of a placenta?
Okay, so
Right.
it's the help. So you're saying because it is autonomous.
Does it have like the capacity for, you know, certain elements of being a human being?
Okay, so you're saying if it can fulfill those things on its own, then we don't have the right to kill it. But if it can't fulfill those things on its own, we do have the right to kill it.
We agree, yeah.
I want to tell you guys about our sponsor for this video, Beam Dream Sleep Powder. They're awesome. Okay, I'm 33 years old. I've got two little Tasmanian devil boys who just keep me on edge. They keep me on the edge of my seat, that is for sure. Last night, for the first time, I tried this Beam Dream Sleep Powder, and I think I had the best night's sleep I've had in years. It was so good. It was so great, and it wasn't like a kind of tired that you can't fight, and it just like knocks you out, kind of that gross, drowsy feeling. It was just like a delightful sleepiness that led to just being zonked out for the night. And I slept so good. And I want you guys to know, if you guys are struggling with sleep, or if you just want to get better sleep, I highly recommend Beam Dream Sleep Powder. It's so good because it's literally like a hot chocolate before bed. And it tastes really good, all natural ingredients, none of these crazy chemicals. So guys, go get some Beam Dream Sleep Powder and use my code RRP for up to 35% off. So if you want to help us out and you want to get a really good night's sleep, go try Beam Dream Sleep Powder. It's in the description. Use my link. Thanks a lot.
Things on its own, we do have the right to kill it.
We agree, yeah.
Okay, I don't think that at all. But what I'm saying, okay, let me give you a thought experiment. I just want to hear what you think. If there's a woman in the woods, in a cabin in the woods by herself, she's stranded there, and she has a 3-month-old baby, does she have an obligation to keep that baby alive with her own breast milk? She has to use her body to feed the baby. Does she have an obligation to keep that baby alive?
So this baby, she just has the baby.
It's her baby.
Okay.
Does she have an obligation to keep it alive with her breast milk? She has to use her body to keep it alive.
Well, I think provided that she is eventually going to get care for the child, and she's going to get into a situation where it is no longer her responsibility, right?
But in that moment, it is.
In that moment, yes. But you can't really compare this to
carrying
a child.
Real quick, let's just say, so you would say that she is obligated to use her body to keep that baby alive?
As long as it doesn't kill her in the process.
Okay. So there we agree. There's some point of common ground right there. So I say, yes, she does have an obligation to keep that baby alive. She is that baby's mother. And so she has a maternal obligation. Not only that, that baby is a human. And the
baby's already 3 months old in this hypothetical.
Sure.
We're talking about somebody who's already effectively a person.
Right. So the point I'm making, though, is that whenever we say her body, her choice, we don't actually mean it. Because in that scenario... No, in that scenario, you're saying it's not her body, her choice. She doesn't have the choice to not feed that baby.
Because
that baby has a right to her body.
The baby is actually a baby now. It's not like a zygote. It's not like an embryo. It's no longer her body.
That baby was a baby from the moment of conception.
No, it wasn't.
Okay, so this is the crux of the argument.
A baby is an infant. So we're talking about if you really have to be as this far out to say like life begins at conception, we're talking about the most crude form of human life, which only distinguishes itself by the genetic information that it has. I feel like if we're going to make that as sacred as human life, I could show you 2 pictures.
The question of when does human life begin, that's key. Because you're saying that personhood starts at some arbitrary number.
I just said that human life is not what's inherently sacred, right? There's a reason we put like patients down who are in a hospital.
We do what?
When certain patients are like terminal, we euthanize them.
No, we don't. No, that is awful. That is wicked.
Them.
No, in most places you do not have that. In Canada, they've been doing the medical assistance in dying, which is absolutely horrific.
Pull the plug on people.
Pulling the plug is not euthanizing. Pulling the plug is not
effectively what I meant, but we're killing them.
No, you're not. What killed the person who's been
comatose patients, right?
So, but you're not killing them. What killed them is the car accident or the disease. Okay, we are artificially keeping them alive. You're not intentionally killing. So, in an abortion, it is the intentional taking of an innocent human life. Okay, but in the scenario you're outlining,
So you realize you're incubating them as you're keeping them alive in the hospital. Naturally, they would die, right? So you are going out of your way to keep. It's not
but naturally this baby would live and grow and become a human being, become a full grown adult.
Well, firstly, that's no guarantee, and secondly, we don't call a sapling a tree, right? So and it's not at that point. It's simply not what it's going to be at that point, right? I understand it has the capacity to be something.
So you're saying that level of development is whenever you get human rights. A certain level of development is when you deserve human rights.
Also, sex cells have the capacity to be something. They have the elements of what is going to eventually, if all things go well during the pregnancy, make a person.
Okay, so
but we're
on personhood. Okay, we're on personhood. I disagree that humanity and personhood are separate, but let's
are.
Okay, but I'll indulge you here. So if you're saying humanity and personhood are separate, don't you think it is of utmost importance that we have an objective standard by which someone becomes a person and they deserve human rights?
Well,
when do we give human rights? Because who? Not only that. That's my first question. The second question is, who decides when they are a person?
Well, I think what we decide as being a person is not the question we should be asking, because we'll never really find an answer for that. However, we need to draw a line, I think, if we're best safe, for example. We have enough understanding to decide that, hey, so this embryo, which not even a fetus at this point, it's not even taken the general shape of a human. If I showed you a dolphin fetus and a human fetus at even a few weeks after the stage, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, but one grows up into a human and one grows up into a dolphin.
Right, but you can't tell the difference.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you can't tell. It's about objectively, ontologically what they are.
You're prescribing inherent sacredness.
Yes.
To what is going to be.
To what is. A human in the womb is a human in the womb. It's a human. Okay, let's just say human in the womb. Can we say that?
You ever heard of HeLa cells?
No.
So Henrietta Lacks had a condition where she had cancer, and her cells are still continuing to this day, right? So she had a condition where her cells could actually persist outside of her body. So now, everywhere in laboratories, everywhere, there is this woman, Henrietta Lacks's cells, right? I believe her skin cells, biopsies from all over her body, right? These are cells that exist from her. They are her, right? I understand that they no longer had the capacity to be her, but would you describe them as being Henrietta Lacks?
No.
No. Right, they have her genetic information.
Yeah, but they're not her.
But they're directly from her body.
Okay, so we're getting into the weeds on personhood, but what I want to ask you is, this is very important. We are deciding when people get human rights. At what point does someone get the right not to be murdered? When does someone get human rights? Now, my question for you is, who gets to decide when someone gets human rights? Because science says that it's a new human being at conception. Now, you're talking about hold on, wait.
You said human rights, and that's science.
No, look, I know. That's what. Let me connect them for you.
Okay, sure.
So, science says that human beings begin at conception. What I'm saying, that is the only objective standard that we can point to. Everything else is philosophy. Everything else, you're talking about personhood. Now, question. Let me finish. So, with personhood, who decides when humans get human rights? Who decides that?
Well, before I answer that, in the process of pointing to that.
Yes,
what about their rights? But in the process,
they don't have. Okay, if you want to come up, we can talk next. I just want to keep it here, but I'm happy to talk to you next. Absolutely.
It's currently.
We'll wrap up after this argument here.
So, in the process of pointing to that objective standard, in people, the only standard is that life begins at conception. You've pointed to something so arbitrary and meaningless that it causes more harm than could ever cause good. Now, I understand that you think that this is basically like a super Holocaust. Women having abortions for the sake of their lives not being ruined.
No, they've ruined their lives by having an abortion. I've talked to so many women who have had abortions. I've talked to so many women who have had abortions, and they know what they've done. They have murdered their child, and it haunts them. Now, it is anecdotal, but here's the key issue. You still haven't given me who decides when personhood starts. Let me ask you something.
Well, what haunted them more is the fact that they had a child and probably will either lose that child or have to be in a terrible financial situation. We're talking about
Wait,
a bad option and then a much worse option.
No,
Women don't want to get abortions. You're right about that.
Yes. Why? Because it's their child.
No, it's not because it's not their child. It's because it's a very traumatizing experience that
No, it's
people
not.
like you will give them shit for.
Okay, so what makes it a trauma? Is it a traumatizing experience to like?
Because it's a medical procedure.
I've had many medical procedures, so has my wife, and none of them she would consider a traumatizing experience.
And we as a society also stigmatize these things
Yes.
on a bad basis. The fact that it is something that they're going to scrutinize you for and stigmatize you for is not that's not enough to make it something.
So
that
we're not going to agree there, but what I want to press you on is you still haven't told me who decides when these little humans get human rights.
I think we should use whatever scientific evidence and whatever scientific bodies
you just said the science says conception. It says fertilization.
The science does not say a person begins.
That's not a question of science. Personhood is not a question of science. It's a question of theology and philosophy.
Well, no, it's not a question of theology. If you are, a theologian, but
philosophy.
Philosophy, yeah.
It's not a scientific question. So
right.
let me pose you something.
I don't think it's a good basis for.
So, but who decides? Who decides whenever humans get human rights?
It's not a decision that one body or person can make.
But so who is it? Who make? Because you seem very confident that these are not human beings deserving of rights. So who and why do you have that opinion? Who told you that? Who made that decision?
Because they're incapable of being people. This is
circular. Who says they're incapable of being people? I'm saying it is a person. You're saying it's not. Who's to decide who's right?
Whether they're incapable of being people? Well, the existing medical bodies know.
No, we just said it's not a scientific question. Personhood is a philosophical or a theological discussion. So science can't tell you when someone becomes a person.
I think I do want to amend that because personhood is also based on like your brain's capacity.
Who says?
What do you mean? Who says?
Who says that personhood requires brain capacity? Who made that decision?
What?
Who made that decision that personhood requires brain capacity? If a little baby, I say a little baby is a person at conception. No, a little baby is a person at conception. You're saying it's not, but who's to mediate? Who's to say I'm wrong and you're right? Who decided that?
Well, first of all, go ask. It's a general that at that phase it's like a general social rule that don't kill infants, right?
Okay, look, this is what I'm getting at. The answer to your question, or the question that I'm asking, who decided, is we kind of collectively shrugged our shoulders and went, meh. I guess this. No, wait. Let me finish.
Let me finish.
Let me finish.
When you learn about sociology, man, that's like the whole field.
So okay,
the whole thing.
So you're saying that So sociologists, quote unquote, decided when a person becomes a person. Now
they decide that. Well, they talk about sociologists comment on like general consensus that we have, what we call common sense.
So you're saying general consensus. Okay.
That infants are.
A couple hundred years ago, it was general consensus that black people are not people. They're not full people. Were they right or wrong?
That was society's conception.
No,
it was wrong.
and what you're saying right now is society's conception of little babies. Was it wrong?
Well, no, we were just talking about infants, right? Mm-hmm. We pivoted from infants straight to, and then we're pivoting back to embryos. Right.
No, we're talking about babies in the womb, and you're saying they're not people, and so did the slavers back in the day. They said that black people are not full people. They took away their humanity so that they could subjugate them, and that's what we're doing to little babies.
That was a very ignorant, claim to make because they very obviously were people.
Says you.
Now,
who's to say it's an ignorant claim for them to make? They didn't think so.
Also, there's a point where you start, where sociology and the general consensus can no longer apply. Like, for example, when we have an embryo, there's nothing social about that. There's no social aspect to that.
There's no social aspect with laws that allow mothers to have special murder rights to kill their children. Of course, that's a social and political issue. And so I'm saying
it's so obvious that they're not like a person. It's
so that's what the slavers said about black people. It's so obvious that they're not actual people.
Well, the difference is we have like more competent, extremely competent scientific like instruments and methodologies that we use that we're pretty confident that this is, I'd say 100% confident that no, they don't have souls. We've never found a soul. We've never found an embryo that cries out bloody murder.
Okay,
right?
so
no.
My friend, you are conflating the science and metaphysics. These things science doesn't tell us ought.
I shouldn't have said soul.
Science cannot give us an ought. Science tells us what is. ought comes from metaphysics, comes from theology ultimately, and philosophy, okay? And
Basically, information that science gives
so
us.
you're using
We
the
know that
same
it
argument
cannot-
for babies that slavers used against black people. You realize that. They're not a person, so we can do whatever we want with them.
But when you whip a slave, they yell and they tell you to stop.
So what? So what? So why is that significant? When you kill a baby, it dies, like in its mother's womb. It killing and whipping.
When you kill a virus, it dies. Well, viruses aren't alive, but
They're not human lives. So they're not human persons, as you would say, viruses. So you're saying we can kill it because it's not a person. The
There's nothing
slavers are
special
saying
about
we can
human DNA.
enslave them because they're not full people. And so you're using the same argument as slavers.
see, the thing is, the reason that was rationalized as well is also because they got like economic gain out of it.
You
Abortion is
just
not
said
an
that there was
necessity.
economic gain for abortion. You said they're maybe too poor, and so you've got this difficult situation. So in fact, many women kill their children, murder their babies for economic reasons. And so what I'm saying is, no one should be allowed to be murdered. Nobody, no humans.
Also, even back in the day, they treated slaves. There were laws on how you were supposed to treat slaves anyway. So
Yeah, but they said they weren't persons, so they can enslave them. And you're saying it's not a person, so I can kill it.
can we not see the distinction here between like a full grown like person and an embryo?
Yeah,
I feel like
there's a difference between a full-grown person and an embryo, but they're both humans.
they're both human,
And so they should
life
have human rights.
because of the DNA that they have.
Right. Okay,
I think HeLa cells should have human rights because this is now.
No, I think humans. I think all humans, regardless of the stage of development, should have human rights. I think we're just going around in circles at this point, Ahmed. But I appreciate your time. I hope that I hope that you'll consider these arguments. I'll consider yours.
I would
and we
look
can
up
go there.
HeLa cells. I would learn more about that.
Sure, I will.
Right?
Okay.
And I want you to think about whether their DNA gives them prescribed human rights.
I will think about that. I appreciate you coming up to the mic. It's not easy to come up to a mic in front of a crowd. So give him a round of applause, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
So when we left off, we were talking about how we were going in a circle about how embryos aren't people, but you said, well, we didn't think black people were people, and so that's why we did
We'll do it
slavery
real
back in the
fast.
day, right?
Okay. Say it again.
Okay. So we were going in like a circle, as you were saying about. I was saying embryos aren't people, right? Because obviously they're not based on the observation. Now you said that we didn't think black people were people.
Right.
And that's why we did slavery.
Yeah.
So you were going on about how we can't like decide personhood, right? Because that's just like a subjective metric. I'm here to tell you, I thought about it for a little bit. I'm here to tell you that you're right. It is a subjective metric, but we need to make decisions like these based on the principle of least harm. So, slavery, even back in the day, right? There's a reason Christopher Columbus, for instance, actually went to jail for his crimes.
Christopher Columbus was a hero, by the way.
Well, I'm not going to debate you on that, but anyway, so there's a reason why he was, jailed for his crimes, because even back in the day, they understood, there is harm that is happening, right? We understand that the termination of a pregnancy in like a safe point, right, when it's still an embryo, when we're still at like 15 weeks, causes no harm except for the harm that had to be taken to avoid greater harm. For example, like you said, women who get abortions are incredibly like traumatized. Well, there is a reason why they make that decision instead of carrying the baby to term, because they know that things are going to get a lot worse if they have to have another mouth to feed. Now, I'm saying that the reason we make this distinction is because of the principle of least harm.
Pause. That's simply not true. There is an adoption waiting list for infants that is a mile long. There are 4 people for every 1 infant baby who want to adopt. So that's actually not true. They won't go into poverty.
Citation.
Just look that up. That's okay.
not what I
Google
asked.
it right now.
I get shitty service here. Anyone?
Yeah, so there is a waiting list. There's no one, if you're having a baby as an infant, there is a waiting list to adopt. The foster care system with older children, that's a different story. That's more broken, and the adoption system there. But when it comes to infants, there is a waiting list.
Let's think about how the whole adoption thing, you think that's good for do you think that's any good for the child?
Yeah, it's better than being murdered.
Murdered. We're prescribing personhood to something that observably does not have personhood.
That's a claim you're making, but you have nothing to back it up except for the feels. That's what I feel. That's what I think. That's what the sociologists say.
No. Hold on. Okay. The reason there's a debate about it is because there's a gray point, right? There's a sort of a gray line, right? And I imagine that's starting when you sort of have like neurological capacities for, can this embryo think? Can this embryo, or not necessarily think, is there pain? Can it feel pain?
The gray area
right?
was eliminated when science discovered when human life begins. That's when the gray area was eliminated, because science discovered that you are you. Everything that makes you is present at fertilization. Everything. So
Proteins.
That's whenever you become a human being.
Nucleic acids don't make you like a person.
All of the ingredients to make you are present.
Those aren't the ingredients. Those are the instructions that we destroy on every single day when we do surgeries.
Look, this debate about personhood, it can't go anywhere. We're at a standstill because you don't have a standard. You don't have a standard, so we're gonna have to.
Nobody has a standard.
I have a standard.
God is not a good standard.
But it's the standard.
Which God? Okay.
Yeah.
I come from a Muslim family, right? We believe in the Quran, right?
Okay. Well,
me personally,
we got a line, and I've only got a few minutes left, Ahmad.
Okay, all right, man. But I really do advise you to look at HeLa cells. Those are basically people by your metric.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Okay, you too, man.